The Great Hall of Elthara Prime buzzed with nervous energy. Hundreds of alien delegates filled the massive chamber, their various forms creating a sea of colors, shapes, and sounds. Some floated in special containers filled with methane gas. Others stood on multiple legs that clicked against the metal floor. A few hung from the ceiling, their wings folded tightly against their bodies. Elder Yurok moved slowly to the center platform. His 4 tentacles trembled as he gripped the speaking rod. The ancient Veltharian had lived for over 300 years, but never had he felt such fear. His normally blue skin had turned pale gray with worry. "Fellow beings of the Galactic Council," Yurok began, his voice echoing through the hall. "We face our darkest hour." The crowd fell silent. Even the youngest delegates understood the weight in his words. For the past 3 months, something terrible had been moving through the Outer Rim territories. 7 entire worlds had gone dark. Millions of lives had been lost. "The creature continues to spread destruction," Yurok continued. "Our best scientists cannot explain what it is. Our strongest warriors flee when they see it. Our most powerful weapons have no effect." A tall insect-like being named Commander Zeltrix stepped forward. His compound eyes glowed red with anger. "We have thrown everything at this monster. Energy cannons, plasma bombs, even quantum torpedoes. Nothing works. It simply absorbs or ignores our attacks. Tell them about Kepler Station," called out a voice from the crowd. Yurok nodded sadly. 3 days ago, the creature reached Kepler Station. The facility housed 50,000 beings from 12 different species. It was one of our most heavily defended outposts. He paused, struggling to continue. There are no survivors. Fear rippled through the assembly. Many delegates began speaking at once, their voices mixing into a chaos of different languages and sounds. Some demanded military action. Others suggested evacuation of all rim worlds. A few spoke of surrender, silence. Yurok shouted, his tentacles flashing bright orange. "We have one option left. One species that might be able to help us." The hall grew quiet again. Everyone knew what he was about to say, but none wanted to hear it. "The humans," Yurok said simply. Groans and angry shouts filled the air. Commander Zeltrix buzzed his wings in displeasure. "Those primitive mammals? They have been in space for barely 200 of their years. What could they possibly do that we cannot?" "You know what they can do," Yurok replied firmly. "Every species in this room has heard the stories. The humans have a gift that none of us possess. They befriend creatures that would destroy anyone else." An elderly delegate from the peaceful Thylorian Republic stood up. Her voice was soft but carried clearly through the hall. "I was there when they first contacted the Razorclaw beasts of Titan 7. Every military force in the galaxy had tried to eliminate those creatures. The humans arrived, and within 1 week, the Razorclaws were helping them build settlements. That is different," Commander Zeltrix argued. "The Razorclaws are still from normal space. This creature is something else entirely. It seems to exist partially outside our reality. Survivors describe it as a living shadow that feeds on fear itself. Which is exactly why we need the humans," Yurok said. "They do not fear like we do. Where we see monsters, they see potential friends. It is their greatest weakness and their greatest strength." The debate continued for hours. Some delegates argued that asking humans for help would make them look weak. Others worried about owing such a debt to a relatively young species. A few questioned whether humans could be trusted with knowledge of such a powerful creature. Finally, Elder Yurok called for order. "The vote is simple. Do we contact the humans and ask for their help? Or do we abandon the Outer Rim and hope this creature does not spread further into our territory?" The voting took place in the traditional manner. Each species placed their symbol into one of 2 containers. The process was slow, as many delegates took time to consult with their home worlds. When the counting finished, the result was closer than expected, but clear. By a margin of 37 votes, the Council chose to contact humanity. "Very well," Yurok announced. "We will offer the humans full membership in the Galactic Federation if they can eliminate this threat. Additionally, they will receive exclusive mining rights to the Kepler system. And if they fail," asked Commander Zeltrix, "then we hope their deaths buy us time to evacuate more worlds," Yurok replied grimly. 3 days later, Captain Lee Donghyun sat in his command chair aboard the human exploration vessel New Sol. The ship was conducting routine patrols near the Andromeda border. Far from Earth and the main shipping lanes, it was quiet work, but Donghyun preferred it to the crowded spaceports near human worlds. "Captain, we are receiving a priority transmission," announced his communications officer, Lieutenant Choi Hyeran. "The signal is coming from Velthara Prime." Dongyun raised an eyebrow. The capital world of the Galactic Council rarely contacted human ships directly. Most communication went through official diplomatic channels that took weeks to process. "Put it through, Lieutenant." The main screen flickered to life, showing Elder Yurak in his formal council robes. The Veltharian looked exhausted and desperate. "Captain Lee Donghyun of the human vessel New Soul," Yurak began without any usual greetings. "The Galactic Council requires your immediate assistance with a matter of utmost urgency." "I am listening, Elder Yurak." "A creature of unknown origin is destroying our outer rim colonies. 7 worlds have been lost. All conventional military responses have failed. We need someone with your species' particular talents." Donghyun leaned forward in his chair. "What kind of creature are we talking about?" "Survivors describe it as a massive entity composed of shadow and void. It appears to exist partially outside normal space-time. It consumes everything in its path and seems to feed on the fear of living beings. We have designated it the Void Stalker." "And you want us to kill it?" "Yes. In return, humanity will receive full membership in the Galactic Federation and exclusive rights to mine the Kepler system." "These are unprecedented offerings, Captain. The Council has never extended such terms to any species." Dongyun was quiet for a long moment. His crew on the bridge looked at him expectantly. Full Federation membership had been humanity's goal for decades. The mining rights alone would make Earth wealthy beyond imagination. "How long do I have to decide?" "The creature is moving toward more populated systems. Every day of delay means more lives lost. We need your answer now, Captain." Dongyun thought about his crew, about humanity's future, and about the desperate tone in the alien elder's voice. Whatever this creature was, it had the most advanced species in the galaxy running scared. "We accept the mission, Elder Yurak. Send us all available data on the creature and the affected systems. The New Soul will depart immediately." Relief flooded the Veltharian's features. "Thank you, Captain. The hopes of countless worlds go with you." As the transmission ended, Dongyun turned to address his crew. "You heard the mission. We are going to hunt something that has destroyed 7 worlds and killed millions of beings. Anyone who wants to transfer to another ship may do so when we reach the next starbase. Not a single crew member moved to leave their post." "Very well then," Dongyun said with a slight smile. "Set course for the Kepler system. Let us go meet this Void Stalker." The New Soul dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Nexus 7 system. Captain Lee Donghyun stared at the main screen, watching as the sensors painted a picture of destruction unlike anything he had ever seen. "My God," whispered Chief Science Officer Dr. Kim Minji from her station. "The entire 4th planet is gone. Where Nexus 4 should have been, only scattered debris floated in space. Asteroids and metal fragments drifted in patterns that made no sense according to normal physics. Some pieces seemed to fade in and out of existence as if they could not decide whether they were real or not. Captain, I am detecting massive energy readings from Nexus 7th, reported Lieutenant Choi Hyeran. The signatures are unlike anything in our databases. Whatever did this is still down there. Security Chief Park Woo-jin checked his weapon systems for the 3rd time since they had arrived. Sir, our defensive screens are at full power, but based on the Council data, they might not be effective against this creature. Dongyun nodded grimly. The reports from the Galactic Council painted a picture of something beyond conventional understanding. Energy weapons passed through it without effect. Physical projectiles simply vanished into its mass. Worse, the creature seemed to grow stronger when beings were afraid of it. Take us into orbit around Nexus 7, Dongyun ordered. Full sensor sweep. I want to know everything about what happened here. The planet below them had once been home to over 2 million beings from dozens of different species. Now it looked like a wasteland. Massive claw marks scarred the surface, each one several kilometers long. Strange geometric patterns were burned into the ground, forming shapes that hurt to look at directly. Dr. Kim studied the readings with growing confusion. Captain, these destruction patterns are not random. There is a deliberate structure to them, almost like the creature was trying to communicate something. What kind of communication leaves cities in ruins? Park Woo-jin asked skeptically. Maybe the kind from something that does not understand how fragile we are. Dongyun replied thoughtfully. What about survivors? I am picking up automated distress beacons from the capital city, Hyeran reported. No life signs, but the emergency broadcasts are still running. Prepare an away team. Dr. Kim, I want you to analyze those patterns from the surface. Park, bring a full security detail but keep weapons on non-lethal settings. Sir? Park looked confused. The creature has killed millions of beings, and shooting at it has not worked for anyone else, Dongyun replied. We try a different approach. 2 hours later, the away team stood in the ruins of Haven's Rest, the former capital of Nexus 7. The city had been built to accommodate multiple species, with sections designed for different atmospheric needs and gravity requirements. Now it was a twisted maze of broken metal and impossible angles. Dr. Kim knelt beside one of the geometric patterns burned into the street. Her scanner beeped frantically as it tried to make sense of the readings. Captain, this is not damage from a weapon. This looks more like reality was folded and then unfolded incorrectly. What does that mean? Asked Park, nervously watching the shadows between the ruined buildings. I am not sure, Kim admitted, but it suggests the creature exists partially outside normal space-time. When it moves through our dimension, it leaves these distortions behind. The emergency broadcasts echoed through empty streets, playing recorded messages in dozens of languages. Most were standard evacuation warnings, but some contained eyewitness accounts of the creature's appearance. It came from nowhere, one terrified voice said in Galactic Standard. One moment the sky was normal, the next it was full of moving shadows. The shadows had eyes, or maybe they were stars. I cannot tell the difference anymore. The creature did not seem hostile at first, another recording stated. It appeared in the central plaza and just stood there, like it was looking for something. But when people started screaming and running, it became agitated. That is when the destruction began. Dongyun stopped walking and looked around the ruined plaza. Something about the pattern of destruction bothered him. It was chaotic, yes, but there was an underlying structure that suggested confusion rather than malice. Sir, Park called from across the plaza. You need to see this. The security chief stood beside a partially collapsed building. The wall had been torn away, but not by claws or energy weapons. It looked like the building had simply decided to stop existing in certain places, leaving perfect geometric voids. Look at the edges, Park said, pointing to where the building material ended. They are smooth, almost polished. Whatever did this was not trying to destroy the building. It was trying to reshape it. Dr. Kim joined them, her scanner now producing a constant stream of confused beeps. Captain, I am detecting residual dimensional energy throughout this area. The creature may have been attempting to modify the local space-time structure. For what purpose? I do not know, but it reminds me of something. Kim paused, thinking. When we build quantum tunnels for faster-than-light communication, we have to create temporary distortions in space-time. Maybe the creature was trying to build something similar. Before Dongyun could respond, the temperature around them dropped suddenly. The air itself seemed to thicken, and shadows began moving independently of their sources. The team's equipment started producing interference patterns that looked almost like mathematical equations. It is here, Park whispered, raising his weapon despite Dongyun's earlier orders. The creature emerged from the space between buildings, flowing like liquid darkness but maintaining a roughly cylindrical shape. It was massive, easily 30 meters tall, and its surface rippled with points of light that might have been eyes or distant stars. Reality seemed to bend around it, creating optical illusions that made it difficult to look at directly. Park fired his weapon on instinct. The energy beam passed harmlessly through the creature's form and struck a ruined wall behind it. The wall simply vanished, leaving another geometric void. The creature turned toward them, and Dongyun felt a wave of something that was not quite telepathy. Images flashed through his mind. Vast empty spaces between dimensions, a sense of overwhelming loneliness, and desperate searching for something that could not be found. Do not shoot, Dongyun ordered, stepping forward. It is not attacking us. Captain, that thing has killed millions of people, Park protested. Has it? Dongyun kept walking toward the creature, ignoring the way reality warped around its edges. Or has it been trying to communicate with beings who could not understand what it was saying? The creature rippled, its form becoming slightly more stable. The points of light within its mass pulsed in what might have been a pattern. Dongyun stopped just 10 meters away from it, close enough to feel the strange energy it radiated. Hello? He said simply. The creature went completely still. For several heartbeats, nothing moved except the gentle flow of its dark surface. Then slowly it began to change shape. The cylindrical form shifted, becoming more compact and less threatening. The chaotic movement of its surface slowed to a gentle ripple. "My God," Dr. Kim breathed. "It is responding to non-aggressive contact." "More than that," Dongyun said, studying the creature's new posture. "I think it has been trying to find someone who would not run away from it." The creature pulsed once brightly, and the geometric patterns in the ground around them began to glow with soft light. For a moment, the ruined plaza was filled with beautiful, impossible shapes that seemed to exist in more dimensions than human eyes could perceive. Then the light faded, and the creature settled into a waiting posture, as if asking what would happen next. Dongyun smiled slightly and activated his communicator. "New Seoul, this is the away team. Cancel the attack protocols. I think we are going to need a xenobiology specialist instead of more weapons." "Sir?" came the confused reply from the ship. "And possibly a linguist," Dongyun added, watching as the creature created small, harmless distortions in the air that looked almost like writing. "I believe we are about to have our first real conversation with the Void Stalker." For 3 days, Captain Lee Dongyun returned to the ruined plaza on Nexus 7. Each time, the creature was waiting for him. The being that the Galactic Council called the Void Stalker had taken to creating small-dimensional art pieces while it waited, folding space into impossible shapes that existed for only a few moments before dissolving back into normal reality. Dr. Kim Minji had set up a mobile laboratory near the plaza, her equipment constantly recording and analyzing the creature's energy patterns. What she discovered challenged everything the scientific community thought they knew about dimensional physics. "Captain, look at these readings," she said, showing Dongyun a display covered in complex waveforms. "When you approach the creature, its energy signature completely changes. The chaotic spikes smooth out into something almost musical." Lieutenant Choi Hyerin had been monitoring communications from orbit, and her reports were equally puzzling. "Sir, every time you make contact with the creature, we detect organized radio signals coming from its position. It is almost like it is trying to broadcast something. Can you decode the signals?" "I am working on it, but the mathematical structure is unlike anything I have seen. It uses base 12 mathematics with what appears to be multidimensional variables." Dongyun nodded thoughtfully. He had spent hours sitting near the creature, simply observing its behavior. What he saw convinced him that the Council had made a terrible mistake. This was not a mindless destroyer, but a sophisticated being in distress. "It is trying to go home," he announced during the daily briefing in the New Seoul's conference room. Security Chief Park. Wu Jin looked skeptical. "How can you be sure, Captain?" "Watch its movements," Dongyun replied, activating a recording from that morning's encounter. "See how it keeps creating those geometric patterns?" "Dr. Kim, what do those shapes remind you of?" The science officer studied the footage carefully. "They look like navigation charts, but for dimensions we cannot perceive." "Oh my God." Her eyes widened with sudden understanding. "Captain, I think you are right. Those are not random patterns. They are maps. Maps of what? Dimensional pathways. The creature is trying to create rifts in space-time that will take it back to wherever it came from. But it does not have the proper tools, so its attempts keep failing and causing massive destruction." Engineer Oh Seungmin leaned forward with interest. "That would explain the energy readings we detected when the creature first appeared. If it was trying to tear holes between dimensions, the gravitational effects alone would devastate any nearby planets. But why is it here in the first place?" Park asked. "What drove it out of its home dimension?" "That," Dongyun said quietly, "is what I intend to find out." The breakthrough came on the 4th day. Dongyun arrived at the plaza to find the creature in obvious distress. Its form was more unstable than usual, flickering between solid and transparent. The dimensional distortions around it were chaotic and dangerous, tearing small holes in the fabric of spacetime. "What is wrong?" Dongyun asked. Though he did not expect an answer the creature could give in any language he understood. The creature responded by creating the largest dimensional display Dongyun had yet seen. Reality folded around them, and suddenly he was standing in what appeared to be vast empty space, filled with geometric structures that existed in more than 3 dimensions. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Cities, or perhaps living organisms made of pure mathematics, floated in the void, connected by streams of light that carried information faster than thought itself. This was the creature's home dimension. A place where physical matter as humans understood it did not exist. But something was wrong with the scene. Dark voids were spreading through the mathematical structures, consuming everything they touched. The streams of light were being severed, and the geometric cities were collapsing into chaos. "Your dimension is being destroyed," Dongyun said with sudden understanding. "You are not just lost, you are a refugee." The vision faded and the creature settled into a posture that somehow conveyed both sadness and relief. For the first time in its exile, someone understood what it was trying to communicate. "Dr. Kim," Dongyun called into his communicator, "I need you down here immediately, and bring Engineer O. I think our friend needs help building something." When the science team arrived, Dongyun explained what he had learned. "The creature is not from our dimension. Its entire reality is being consumed by some kind of destructive force. It escaped here but cannot survive properly in our space-time. Every attempt it makes to return home fails because it lacks the technology to create stable dimensional rifts." "But Captain," Dr. Kim said hesitantly, "we barely understand interdimensional physics ourselves. How could we possibly help it?" "By working together," Dongyun replied. "It understands the theory better than anyone. We have the engineering skills to build the necessary equipment. Between us, we might be able to find a solution." The next few days were unlike anything in the history of human-alien cooperation. The creature, which Dongyun had begun calling Gurimja after the Korean word for shadow, worked directly with the engineering team to design dimensional manipulation devices. Gurimja would create temporary distortions in space-time to demonstrate physical principles, while Engineer O and his team figured out how to replicate those effects using human technology. Dr. Kim served as translator, interpreting the creature's mathematical communications into concepts the engineers could understand. "It is incredible," O reported during one of their progress briefings. "Gurimja understands physics in ways our greatest scientists have never even imagined. With its help, we have advanced human dimensional theory by centuries in just a few days." But their work was interrupted by an urgent transmission from orbit. Lieutenant Hiron's face appeared on Dongyun's portable communicator, her expression tense with worry. "Captain, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are detecting a Galactic Council battle fleet approaching this system. They will arrive in less than 6 hours. How many ships?" 47 vessels, including 3 Dreadnought-class warships. Sir, they are not coming to negotiate. I intercepted their communications. They have orders to destroy both you and the creature if you refuse to eliminate it immediately." Dongyun looked at Gurimja, who had stopped its dimensional demonstrations and was now radiating what felt like concern. Somehow the creature understood that danger was approaching. "They still think you are a monster," Dongyun said to Gurimja. "Even after everything we have learned about you." The creature responded by creating a small dimensional display showing images of the approaching fleet. Then it showed what would happen if those ships opened fire while Gurimja was in distress. Massive dimensional rifts would tear open, potentially destroying the entire star system. "Captain," Dr. Kim said urgently, "if the Council fleet attacks while Gurimja is emotionally unstable, the defensive reaction could create a cascade failure in local spacetime. We are not just talking about this planet being destroyed. The dimensional damage could spread to other systems." "Then we need to find another solution," Dongyun replied. "Oh, how long until you can complete the dimensional rift generator?" "At least another week, sir. Maybe longer. We do not have that long." Dongyun activated his communicator. "New Seoul, this is the captain. Prepare for emergency departure. We are leaving orbit in 30 minutes. "Sir?" came the confused reply. "We are taking Gurimja with us. If the Council wants to brand us as traitors for refusing to kill an innocent being, so be it. But I will not let them destroy something remarkable out of ignorance and fear." As the New Soul prepared to depart, Dongyun stood with Gurimja in the ruins of Haven's Rest. "I am sorry we could not help you get home yet," he said. "But maybe we can find another way, together." Gurimja created one final dimensional display, showing an image that took Dongyun's breath away. Humans and interdimensional beings working side by side, building technologies that neither species could create alone. "Yes," Dongyun said with a smile, "I think we can build something wonderful together. But first we need to survive what comes next." The creature flowed toward the New Soul shuttle bay, ready to leave behind the world where it had been misunderstood as a monster, and begin a new life as humanity's first interdimensional ally. The new Sol jumped to hyperspace just as the Galactic Council fleet arrived at Nexus 7. Captain Lee Dong-hyun watched the sensor readings fade from the main screen, knowing they had just crossed a line from which there might be no return. "Captain," Navigator Bae Ji-won called from her station, "where should I set our course? We are now classified as fugitives from Council justice." "Take us to the Kepler Nebula," Dong-hyun replied. "The gas clouds will mask our energy signature while we figure out our next move." In the cargo bay that had been hastily converted into living quarters for their interdimensional passenger, Gurimja was adapting to life aboard a human starship. The creature had compressed its form to fit inside the available space, though it still occasionally created small dimensional distortions that made the walls shimmer like water. Dr. Kim Minji had established a research station in the bay, her equipment constantly monitoring Gurimja's energy patterns and attempting to decode its communications. What she discovered over the following days amazed everyone on the crew. "Gurimja is not just intelligent," she reported during the morning briefing. "It is incredibly sophisticated. The mathematical concepts it uses are so advanced that our computers can barely process them." "What kind of concepts?" asked Engineer Oh Sung-min. "Interdimensional engineering, quantum consciousness theory, space-time manipulation at a level we cannot even comprehend. Captain, this being could revolutionize human understanding of physics." Medical Officer Dr. Yoon Subin had made her own startling discovery. "I have been monitoring the crew's health since Gurimja came aboard. Everyone is showing improved cellular regeneration, enhanced immune response, and increased cognitive function. Its presence is actually making us healthier and smarter." Lieutenant Choi Hyerin looked up from her communication station with excitement. "I have been working with Gurimja on a translation matrix. It has been teaching me its mathematical language, and I think I am starting to understand some basic concepts." "Show me," Dong-hyun said. Hyerin activated her console, displaying a series of complex geometric patterns. These symbols represent what we might call emotions, but for a being that exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. This pattern means something like gratitude, harmony, hope, combined into a single concept. As if responding to its name, Gurimja created a soft pulse of light that filled the cargo bay with gentle warmth. The crew had grown accustomed to these displays of communication, and several people smiled at what they had learned was the creature's way of saying hello. "It likes being around us," Dr. Yoon observed. "Its energy patterns become more stable when crew members visit. I think it was lonely before we found it." "Lonely for how long?" Dong-hyun asked. The question prompted Gurimja to create one of its dimensional displays. The cargo bay filled with images of vast empty space and the slow passage of time. The message was clear. The creature had been wandering between dimensions for a very long time, searching for others who could understand its nature. Centuries higher and translated from the mathematical patterns Gurimja was projecting, maybe longer. Its home dimension was destroyed gradually, and it has been looking for a new place to exist ever since. The peaceful moment was interrupted by an urgent alert from the bridge. Security Chief Park Woojin's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, to the bridge immediately. We have council ships on long-range sensors, and they are broadcasting something you need to hear." Dong-hyun hurried to the bridge, where Park showed him the intercepted transmission. War Commander Thylos of the Council Fleet appeared on the screen, his alien features twisted with anger. "Captain Lee Dong-hyun of the human vessel New Sol," Thylos announced. "You have betrayed your mission and allied yourself with a creature responsible for the deaths of millions. By order of the Galactic Council, you are hereby declared enemies of all civilized species." The transmission continued with a formal declaration that humanity would be expelled from all Council territory and treated as hostile forces. Any human ship encountered would be destroyed on sight, unless Captain Dong-hyun surrendered immediately and eliminated the creature. "They are serious," Park said grimly. "Sensor readings show at least 60 Council ships have been assigned to hunt us down. They are coordinating search patterns across multiple star systems." "What about Earth?" Navigator Bae asked with worry. "Will they attack our homeworld?" "Not yet," Lieutenant Hyerin reported from her station. "I am monitoring Council diplomatic channels. They are giving humanity 48 hours to recall us and disavow our actions. If Earth refuses, they will impose a complete blockade of human space." Dong-hyun felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. His decision to protect Gurimja had potentially doomed his entire species to isolation and conflict with the galaxy's most powerful alliance. "Captain," came Dr. Kim's voice over the intercom, "you need to see what Garimja is doing." Dongyun returned to the cargo bay to find the creature creating its most complex dimensional display yet. The entire space was filled with mathematical equations that seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions. As Hyeron worked to translate the concepts, the meaning became clear. "It is offering to leave," she said with surprise. "Garimja understands that its presence is causing problems for humanity. It wants to find somewhere else to go so that we will not be punished for helping it." The creature's form had become smaller and dimmer, radiating what could only be described as sadness. It was willing to return to its lonely wandering between dimensions rather than cause harm to the first beings who had shown it kindness. "Absolutely not," Dongyun said firmly. "We do not abandon our friends when things get difficult." Garimja pulsed with surprise, and Hyeron translated its response. "It asks why we would risk so much for something the rest of the galaxy considers a monster." "Because the rest of the galaxy is wrong," Dongyun replied. "You are not a monster. You are a person in need of help, and that is what humans do. We help. Engineer." O stepped forward with a determined expression. "Captain, I have been working with Garimja on modifications to our ship's dimensional systems. If we can complete the project, we might be able to create stable rifts to other parts of the galaxy. We could escape the Council pursuit and find allies elsewhere." "What kind of allies would side against the Galactic Council?" "The same kind who have been waiting for someone powerful enough to challenge Council dominance," came an unexpected voice from the communication system. Lieutenant Hyeron looked startled. "Captain, I am receiving a transmission on an encrypted channel. The signal is coming from inside the nebula." "Put it through." A new alien face appeared on the main screen. The being was tall and graceful, with skin that shifted through different shades of blue and silver. "I am Ambassador Rathos of the Cathari Republic. We have been monitoring your situation with great interest. How did you find us?" "The same way we have been secretly watching the Council's activities for decades." "Captain, your actions have created an opportunity that many species have been hoping for. The Galactic Council rules through fear and oppression. Your creature friend has proven that their fleets are not invincible." "What are you suggesting?" "An alliance. There are 43 species within Council territory who have grown tired of their authoritarian rule. We lack the military power to challenge them directly, but your interdimensional ally could change everything." Dongyun looked back toward the cargo bay where Garimja waited. "This is not just about us anymore, is it?" "No, Captain. Your refusal to kill an innocent being has become a symbol of resistance against everything the Council represents. Other species are watching to see if beings like us can stand up to their tyranny. And if we fail, then at least we will have tried to build something better. But I do not think we will fail. Your Garimja is more powerful than the Council realizes, and humans have proven to be very good at inspiring others to fight for what is right." Over the next several hours, ships began appearing throughout the Kepler Nebula. Not Council vessels, but the secret fleets of oppressed species who had been waiting for someone to lead a rebellion against galactic tyranny. Garimja created one final display, showing images of humans and aliens working together, building a new kind of civilization based on cooperation rather than domination. "Are you ready for this?" Dongyun asked the creature. The response was a pulse of light so bright it filled the entire cargo bay with warmth and hope. The age of Council dominance was about to end. The Kepler Nebula had become the most dangerous place in the galaxy. What started as a hiding spot for one human ship and its interdimensional passenger had transformed into the secret headquarters of the largest rebellion in galactic history. Captain Li Dongyun stood in the main conference room of the makeshift command station, watching representatives from dozens of species argue about strategy. The diversity was amazing. Insectoid Zephyrians with their clicking speech, the crystalline shard singers whose voices sounded like musical glass, and the peaceful Valdorians whose entire bodies glowed with emotional colors. "The Council fleet has blockaded 17 star systems," reported General Kethvar of the Rylorian Defense Force. "They are demanding that every species turn over any humans they find or face military occupation." Ambassador Rathos of the Cathari Republic gestured with her color-shifting hands. "Many worlds are complying out of fear, but others are secretly sending supplies and volunteers to our cause. The Council's heavy-handed response is creating more rebels every day." "What about Earth?" Dongyun asked with concern. Your homeworld is under complete blockade. Admiral Joe Leafy of the Terran Defense Fleet replied via quantum communication. But we are holding. The Council has not yet resorted to direct attack, probably because they fear starting a larger war. Dr. Kim Minji had been working around the clock with scientists from multiple species, all studying Gurimja and the implications of interdimensional contact. Captain, we have made an incredible discovery. Gurimja is not the only survivor from its dimension. There are others hiding in the spaces between realities, afraid to make contact because of what happened to their world. How many others? We estimate at least 50 individuals, possibly more. They have been watching our progress with great interest. This was confirmed when Gurimja created one of its dimensional displays in the conference room, the space filled with images of other beings similar to their friend, creatures of living shadow and light who existed partially outside normal space-time. They were shy and cautious, but clearly desperate for contact with others who would understand them. They want to help, Lieutenant Choi Hyeran translated from Gurimja's mathematical communications. Their species has technology we cannot imagine, but they are afraid that revealing themselves will lead to more persecution. Tell them they have nothing to fear from us, Dongyun said to Gurimja. We judge beings by their actions, not their appearance. What happened next changed everything. One by one, other interdimensional beings began appearing throughout the nebula. They emerged from the spaces between dimensions like shy animals coming out of hiding, their forms beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Each being was unique. Some looked like geometric patterns made of pure light. Others resembled flowing rivers of liquid starlight. A few took forms that existed in so many dimensions that looking at them directly caused headaches in most organic species. My God, Dr. Yoon Subin whispered, as she watched the interdimensional beings interact with the gathered fleet. They are not just individuals. They are an entire civilization that has been hiding from us. The arrival of the interdimensional refugees had an unexpected effect on the rebellion. Species that had been enemies for centuries found themselves working together to help beings who were even more alien than their traditional rivals. The shared goal of protecting the innocent created bonds stronger than old political differences. Engineer Oh Seung-min was having the time of his life. Working with interdimensional beings had advanced his understanding of physics by thousands of years in just a few weeks. Captain, with their help we can do things the Council never dreamed of. Instant communication across any distance, ships that can phase in and out of normal space, energy sources that tap directly into the fabric of reality itself. But the Council was not sitting idle. War Commander Thylos had assembled the largest fleet in galactic history. Over 300 ships from every Council species, armed with weapons designed specifically to disrupt dimensional distortions. They are calling it the Final Purge, reported Intelligence Officer Commander Yates, who had defected from the Council forces along with several hundred other humans. Thylos has convinced the Council that interdimensional beings are an existential threat to all organic life. He plans to eliminate every one of them, along with any species that helps them. How long until they attack? 72 hours. They are waiting for reinforcements from the core worlds. The conference room erupted in arguments about whether to fight or flee. Some species wanted to scatter and hide. Others demanded a direct confrontation. The interdimensional beings remained silent, communicating only with Gurimja in mathematical patterns too complex for most translators to understand. Finally, Dongyun called for silence. We are not going to run and we are not going to hide, but we are also not going to fight in the way the Council expects. What do you mean? Asked General Cathvar. The Council thinks this is a military conflict, but it is really about ideas. They believe that different equals dangerous. We believe that different equals valuable, so instead of proving them right by responding with violence, we prove them wrong by showing the galaxy what cooperation can accomplish. Over the next 2 days, something unprecedented happened in galactic history. The combined fleets of the rebellion, supported by interdimensional technology, began transmitting to every inhabited world in the galaxy. The broadcasts were not propaganda or military threats. Instead, they showed the truth. Humans and aliens working together with interdimensional beings to solve problems that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. Medical research that could cure diseases affecting dozens of species. Agricultural techniques that could feed starving worlds. energy technology that could eliminate resource conflicts. Most importantly, they showed Garimja and its interdimensional companions not as monsters, but as individuals with hopes, fears, and dreams just like any organic being. The dimensional displays they created were works of art, more beautiful than anything in conventional space, expressing concepts of peace and harmony that transcended species barriers. The effect is remarkable, reported Ambassador Rythos as she monitored galactic communication networks. Council worlds are beginning to question their government's policies. Some are demanding that their representatives withdraw from the final purge fleet. It is not enough, Admiral Joe warned from Earth. Thylos still has enough ships to destroy your entire force. The hardcore Council supporters see this as proof that interdimensional beings are corrupting organic species. Then we need to show them something they cannot ignore, Donghyun said. He turned to Garimja, who had been quietly observing the discussions. My friend, is it possible for your people to create a demonstration of their peaceful intentions that the entire galaxy could see? Garimja pulsed with consideration, then began creating mathematical patterns that Lieutenant Hiren worked frantically to translate. It says they can do something called a harmony cascade, she reported. All interdimensional beings working together to create an effect visible from anywhere in the galaxy. But it would require them to reveal the full extent of their abilities, making them completely vulnerable to attack. What kind of effect? A temporary modification to the quantum structure of space-time itself. Everyone in the galaxy would be able to see and feel the interconnectedness of all consciousness, regardless of species or dimensional origin. It sounds incredibly risky for them. Yes, but Garimja says they are willing to do it. They have been hiding for so long that they have forgotten what it feels like to be truly alive. They want to try. Donghyun looked around the conference room at the diverse group of beings who had come together to fight for the right to be different. Then we give them that chance. As the Council's final purge fleet approached the Kepler Nebula, ready to eliminate what they saw as a threat to galactic civilization, 50 interdimensional beings prepared to show the universe something it had never seen before. What harmony between different forms of consciousness could look like. The greatest demonstration of unity in galactic history was about to begin. The final purge fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler Nebula, like a wall of death and destruction. 300 Council warships arranged themselves in perfect battle formation, their weapons powered and targeting systems locked onto the rebel positions. War Commander Thylos stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Galactic Justice. His insectoid features were rigid with determination, as he prepared to give the order that would eliminate what he saw as the greatest threat to galactic civilization. All ships report ready for engagement, his tactical officer announced. The interdimensional creatures are gathered in the center of the nebula, along with the human vessel and approximately 200 rebel ships. Begin the attack, Thylos commanded. Eliminate every interdimensional entity and any organic being that stands with them. But before the Council fleet could fire, something unprecedented happened. The interdimensional beings, led by Garimja, began their harmony cascade. It started as a gentle pulse of light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Then reality itself began to shimmer, as if the universe was suddenly showing its hidden connections. Every conscious being in the galaxy, from the smallest spacefaring creature to the most advanced artificial intelligence, felt a moment of perfect clarity. For just a few seconds, the barriers between different forms of consciousness dissolved. Organic beings could feel what it was like to exist across multiple dimensions. Artificial minds experienced organic emotion. Interdimensional entities felt the solid reality of physical existence. Captain Lee Donghyun stood on the bridge of the New Soul, tears streaming down his face as he experienced the universe through Garimja's perception. He could see the mathematical beauty underlying all existence, feel the connections between every living thing, and understand for the first time how truly alone the interdimensional beings had been. On the Council flagship, War Commander Thylos staggered as the cascade reached his consciousness. For a brief moment he felt what Garimja felt, the desperate loneliness of being the last survivors of a destroyed dimension, the joy of finally finding others who could understand them, and the gentle hope that different species could learn to live together in peace. The effect rippled across the entire galaxy. On thousands of worlds, beings who had never met interdimensional entities suddenly understood them as individuals rather than threats. The cascade carried with it the memories and emotions of Gurimja's people, their art, their philosophy, their desperate desire for friendship and understanding. "All ships hold fire," came a shaky voice over the Council Fleet's command frequency. It was Admiral Kelnoth of the Peaceful Studies Division, one of Thylos's subordinates. "We need to reconsider our approach." "Belay that order," Thylos snarled, fighting against the empathy the cascade had forced him to feel. "These creatures are using some kind of mind control. We cannot trust anything we experienced." But doubt was spreading through the Council Fleet. Ship after ship reported that their crews were refusing to fire on beings they now understood to be refugees rather than invaders. The Harmony Cascade had done more than show the truth about interdimensional entities. It had revealed the Council's own history of oppression and fear-based decision-making. On the bridge of the Rebel command ship, Ambassador Raithas monitored communications across the galaxy. "Captain Donghyun, you need to hear this. We are receiving thousands of transmissions from Council worlds. They are demanding an immediate ceasefire and peaceful negotiations." "What about Earth?" "The blockade is breaking apart. Several Council species have withdrawn their ships and are requesting diplomatic meetings with human representatives." The Harmony Cascade faded, leaving the galaxy forever changed. For the first time in galactic history, beings from different dimensions had communicated directly with organic consciousness. The experience had shattered many preconceptions about what constituted intelligent life. Gurimja and the other interdimensional beings were exhausted from the effort, their forms dimmer than usual. But there was something new in their energy patterns that Dr. Kim Minji immediately recognized. "They are not afraid anymore," she reported to Dongyun. "For the first time since we found Gurimja, its people are radiating confidence and hope instead of caution and fear." The change in the Council Fleet was equally dramatic. Ship after ship was standing down from combat readiness. Several vessels had already broken formation to approach the rebel positions under white flag protocols. But War Commander Thylos was not ready to surrender. "All remaining loyal ships prepare for immediate attack. We cannot allow sentiment to overrule our duty to protect organic life." Only 12 ships responded to his order. The rest of the fleet had either withdrawn or openly refused to follow commands to attack interdimensional refugees. "Sir," his tactical officer said quietly, "perhaps we should consider negotiation." "Never," Thylos replied. "These creatures represent an existential threat to everything we have built. Even if they seem peaceful now, their very existence destabilizes the natural order." It was then that Elder Quitesh of the Wisdom Caste spoke over the general communication channel. The ancient being's voice carried the authority of one who had guided galactic civilization for over 5 centuries. "War Commander Thylos, by the authority of the Galactic Council, I am ordering you to stand down immediately. The Council is prepared to open formal negotiations with the interdimensional refugees and their organic allies, Elder Quitesh. You do not understand the threat these creatures represent. On the contrary, Commander, the Harmony Cascade has shown us exactly what these beings represent. An opportunity to expand our understanding of consciousness and existence itself. Your mission is concluded." The standoff continued for several more hours as political maneuvering took place across the galaxy. The interdimensional beings used the time to rest and recover from their massive effort, while the Rebel Alliance prepared for whatever came next. Finally, Elder Quitesh himself arrived aboard a Council diplomatic vessel, accompanied by representatives from every major species in the galaxy. The meeting took place in the New Souls conference room, which had been modified with interdimensional technology to accommodate beings who existed in multiple layers of reality. "Captain Dongyun," Elder Quitesh began, "your actions have created a crisis that threatens the stability of galactic civilization, but they have also created an opportunity that we cannot ignore." "What kind of opportunity?" "The chance to rebuild our society based on cooperation rather than domination. The Harmony Cascade has shown us that consciousness takes many forms, and that diversity of thought and existence makes us stronger rather than weaker." Gurimja created a dimensional display showing the proposal its people had developed. "A new form of galactic governance that would include representation for interdimensional beings, alongside organic species." They offered their advanced technology and unique perspective in exchange for citizenship rights and protection from persecution. The interdimensional entities do not want to rule anyone. Lieutenant Choi Hyeran translated. They simply want to exist openly and contribute to galactic civilization instead of hiding in the spaces between realities. The negotiations took 3 days, but the outcome was revolutionary. The Galactic Council was dissolved by unanimous vote of its member species, replaced by the Alliance of Worlds, a truly democratic federation that recognized the rights and wisdom of all forms of consciousness. Gurimja became the first interdimensional ambassador, helping to establish contact protocols with other beings who had been hiding between dimensions. The creature's people began emerging from their exile, bringing with them technologies and perspectives that accelerated the development of every species they encountered. Dr. Kim Minji was appointed to lead the new Interdimensional Studies Institute, where organic and non-organic scientists work together to explore the deepest mysteries of existence. Engineer Oh Seung-min found himself designing starships that could phase in and out of normal space-time, opening up entirely new methods of exploration and travel. The new Sol became the flagship of the Alliance exploration fleet, with Captain Dong-yun commanding a mixed crew of humans, aliens, and interdimensional beings. Together, they ventured into regions of space that had been inaccessible to purely organic expeditions, as the ship prepared for its first official mission under Alliance authority. Dong-yun stood in the observation deck watching Gurimja create one of its dimensional art displays. The patterns were more complex and beautiful than ever, expressing concepts of joy and belonging that the creature had never been able to share before. "You know," Dr. Yoon Subin said, joining him at the viewport, "the council was right about one thing. Humans do have a talent for befriending dangerous creatures." Dong-yun smiled as he watched Gurimja teach several young crew members how to perceive mathematical beauty in 4 dimensions. Maybe that is because we understand that different does not mean wrong. Sometimes the most powerful allies are the ones everyone else is too afraid to understand. The new Sol jumped to hyperspace, its interdimensional passenger no longer a refugee but a full member of the crew. Behind them, the first mixed-dimensional colonies were being established throughout the galaxy, places where beings from multiple layers of reality